Welcome to this tutorial. We're going to really be discussing Google Forms and the AutoGrade feature. What you see on the screen is a Google form that I created from a worksheet. For my math classes, we use a program called CUDA. And this program essentially creates either multiple choice or short answer questions, and it generates these questions. So the benefit is this is very quick for me to create. I simply tell it what I want and it generates these documents. But this could come from anything. You could have a pre-made document, or you could type this up yourself. It doesn't have to be math. I just happen to teach math. But I have all these questions that I posted, and I created a document. Now the students got the document. It was not multiple choice. The student got the document and it was actually a short answer. But for this particular version of it, I created a multiple choice version, and you'll see why in just a minute. Here's what the actual form looks like. So the students have a hard copy of the document. It's just like a review worksheet, and they go through and they work the worksheet out and they find the solutions. And when they get done, they come here and they have a multiple choice question. So number one, you can see here, here's the problem. It's a conic section. They had to graph it and find all the parts to it, and they had to choose which one is the right graph. And then they choose the answer over here, so they can choose A or B or C or D or whatever. And then as you can see, I've got this created, and it's exactly the same as you see here. What I do is I took my screen capture tool and I took pictures of the problems that were on the screen. Now, depending if you have a Mac or if you have a Windows machine, you'll use a different version of a screen capture tool, and you'll have to figure that out. For me, if I use Mac, and it's just Command-Shift-4, and I just drag a marquee around the part I want to take a picture of, and it saves it to my desktop. So what I did was I took that and I used those pictures, and I simply uploaded the photos. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a minute. But this is what it looks like. Literally, it's exactly like a photocopy of each problem. What's nice is the fact that I have its multiple choice shows me that I really don't have to do a whole lot of work. I created this whole document. It's about 19 questions long, and I created the form in about 15 minutes. From start to finish. Now I already had the worksheet done ahead of time. That took a little bit longer to do, but I was going to make that regardless of if I did this or not. So that was kind of not really extra work on my side. But here's what the document looks like. So essentially what I did was I created a Google Doc, a Google form, excuse me, and I have, I'll show you, go to the end. If I were to create a new question, I'd go down to add item, and I would create an image. I'll get one we did this morning. Let's see, we'll choose this one. And so you can see that's one I picked here. I could click done, I could add an item, I could choose multiple choice, and I simply go in and I just give it A, B, C, D, and the student sees, here are my choices. I simply have to pick A, B, C, or D, and it kind of goes from there. So there's really no big deal in, it's not very difficult to create this if you have the questions already generated. And if not, what you can do is you can type up the questions, and you'll have to watch my other video on how to create Google forms using multiple choice questions or whatever type you want. But you can create your questions that way. But one thing that you can do with AutoGrade, the way I did this was I already had the answers. I had the multiple choice questions here, and so I could see all the answers. I had those, and so I can show you the answers here, and I can see which one. I already knew what the answers were. I can scroll to the bottom, and it's got all my answers. So I took these answers, and I went ahead and I took this quiz immediately after I created it. And once you create a form with Google Forms, and you answer the question, or if you the first person to do, I can go to responses and I can go view responses, and it opens up my document, and it has a number of things here. It has each of the questions, and you can see those listed here, and all the usernames. And my username is the very first one. because I took it as soon as I created it. And so that serves as my key. Well, one thing we can do, you can, if you haven't added this already, you can use your add-ons and go down and choose Flubaroo, and you can enable AutoGrade. And I've already got it. This is active. My students are actually participating in this right now. You can enable AutoGrade, and if it's your first time enabling that, it'll take you through just the traditional setup, and you'll follow the online instructions, on-screen instructions, and essentially it'll say, we'll go ahead and take it. One thing that it's going to require you to do is on the answer form, at the very beginning, you have a couple of options that need to be checked. In order for AutoGrade to work, you have to automatically collect the respondent's username, which is their email address. If it doesn't have that, it can't send an email. What AutoGrade does is, as soon as the student responds, it automatically grades the document, and it sends an email with the response back to the student. So if you have this part checked, where it says automatically collect the respondent's Beaufort City School System's username, or whatever your school system's name is, in the answer sheet, what happens is Flubaroo, here's the Flubaroo tab at the bottom, and most of my students are trying this out, and they're not completing the form. I told them they can do 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 and grade it and kind of go as they want to, and they can submit. I've got one person here that has submitted 12 different versions, and her highest percentage has been up to 63%. So as they do that, what it does, it will email you all the responses, and you can go through that, and you can go through and you can see exactly how your students are doing. The more important thing is the way that I used this one was it was like a practice test, and they could take it on their own time, and they could go through that, and they could work through the questions, and they could submit. If they wanted to stop, they could submit the response, and it generates it grades what they've done. Of course, it marks the ones they haven't done incorrect. So it's not a matter of getting the incorrect answer or right answer, but you keep trying and you keep going. Autocorrect is a great little tool, especially if you're trying to give students a little bit more autonomy with this. I wanted to have a little bit of a differentiation. So if the students were advanced enough to kind of work on their own, then they could take this and they could work and do it on their own time and look through it and go and have the key in front of them without actually seeing the answers first. So they went ahead and did the problems and then came back here and checked their work. So AutoGrade is great, especially if you want to kind of give the students autonomy in terms of that. You could also create lots of different tutorials where the students could choose to take it on their own time, and the AutoGrade feature would automatically give them the response and the feedback that they need in order to be successful when, say, they're studying for a test or something. And I wasn't worried about taking this for a grade or anything, so it didn't matter that they could go back and take it over and over and over again until they could get the right answers. But that's essentially AutoGrade. The only thing you have to do is you have to install, one more time, you go back under add-ons, you start Flubaroo. Let me see, I'll go over here and do one where I haven't actually started it yet. So here, if you go to Flubaroo, you go down to the advanced section, and it goes over to enable AutoGrade. You click that. What it's going to do, and it says before enable AutoGrade, you must set up your grading and email settings. So you click OK, and it'll walk you through the settings, and I won't complete this, but I'll kind of show you the first few steps. So it's going to ask you, okay, well, here are your questions. How you want us to grade it? And so you can set up your point value systems. You can tell this is the student's name or their number or whatever. I don't want you to grade this one. I want you to grade it by these points. Or if it's something that you need to grade by hand, you'll have to select that, and then you'll have to go back on your own. For this assignment, normal grading worked exactly like I wanted to, and I simply gave them a few points each, and I said, oh, let's just make them all 5 points. I think I had 21 questions. I had an error in one question, so I told it to skip grading that one. So you go ahead and click continue. That's how, I want to set up the grading system. Then it asks, okay, which one is the answer key? And so I went ahead and I scrolled down to pick my answer key. And so I wrote in the name, I had them put their name in, so answer key was what I typed in. So I clicked continue. And what it's going to do is it says, all right, where's the email address located, right? And this particular questionnaire, I didn't ask for their email, so I don't have it written in, so this one won't actually work. But you would choose username as the identifier for what we use, and I can have checked, I can include the questions and their responses, and if I so desire, I can let the answer key be given out as well. For my assignment, I did give them the results and the responses, and so they could see what questions they got right and what questions they got wrong. I did allow them to take the quiz more often, and so they could go back and try to redo the quiz again and again and again until they get it right. And that's essentially all you have to do. Once that happens, it'll be set up, and once the student begins to take the quiz, then they will be able to see the responses. And you can see here, this is the actual spreadsheet, and you can see some students have only selected one question to answer because they knew the rest or they didn't try the rest. Some people have answered all of the questions, and so you can see as they go through that, lots of different values here. Lots of people trying different results, and it's got a timestamp beside each one. And you can see over at the end, you can see lots of the same email addresses, so you can see people are trying it over and over again, just for extra practice. And that is AutoGrade with Flubaroo inside of Google Forms and Google Sheets.